Hey everyone, it's time for a daily dose of Dr. Drew.
Hello, guys. I see your scroll here on Restream. A couple things to start out with. I guess winter months are when we have a significant low in our blood supply. So I went and gave blood today. I've kept this on just to remind you, give blood products. They're just a routine part of healthcare. And I thought to myself, it's actually an embarrassment if we run low. It's ridiculous. So it's nothing to you. It takes about, if you fill out the questionnaires beforehand, which should become a little bit lengthy now, the lawyers have gotten really into it, you can be out of there in 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and do that. How much do I know about premenstrual dysphoric disorder? Symptoms and treatment? A bit, Nikki. What is your question? Premenstrual dysphoric disorder obviously are these acute, severe mood disturbances that occur in the days leading up to menstrual flow when the hormone cycling is the most acute and the progesterone starts to kick up rather rapidly. The corpus luteum starts producing all that progesterone, and people react badly to it. It can be a very unpleasant biology, and it can be treated. Usually people just use a serotonin reuptake inhibitor in the few days prior to the menstrual period. Some people have to stay it all the time. Chronic fatigue syndrome, Janella wants to know. It's a syndrome, right? It's not a diagnosis. It's a syndrome. So it really depends what the chronic fatigue is, what the constellation of phenomena are that are coming together to give you that syndrome. And you have to really get careful diagnostic workup. And then there's lots of, they used to call it neurasthenia. I don't know why they got rid of that term. But look up neurasthenia and the way they used to treat it. They used to treat it very seriously as a neurological condition.
How do you spell that?
Neurasthenia. Neurasthenia.
Neurasthenia.
All right. Neurasthenia. Yep.
Asthenia.
Rosie, I will see you in Sacramento on Tuesday. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I am. I don't know. I almost am out of words on the homeless situation. It's well, I have enough words to fill the time there. Trust me, and hopefully we will raise some awareness about how we got into this mess and what we need to do to get out. It's very obvious. It's not a subtle problem. It's obvious, and it is killing people by literally the thousands. 3 a day just in LA County are dying. To be put your head in the sand on this one. So Bernie Sanders is alleged to have told Elizabeth Warren that he did not think a woman could beat Donald Trump to be president. And do you feel, I'm wondering on the scroll here, what you feel about that whole exchange that they had? I'm wondering if what Bernie said is that it's going to be the way Trump's supporters are, it might be harder for a woman to take him on. Not that a woman couldn't be president or win the presidency, that in this particular campaign, maybe that could be a harder putt. But I'm wondering what you guys think about that. Thanks, Ron. Adam and I still do a daily podcast, which reminds me, Angry Joe just doesn't believe her at all. Yeah. And she did distort some stuff during the debate about when Bernie beat a Republican incumbent. That was a little bit disturbing, actually, I thought.
I just don't like how they just bicker up there. Just like, it's such a waste of energy.
Well, is that Sarah Buffington? There's a Buffington in there who said that Warren has spent her entire life lying. And I think that's the biggest problem that she has in this exchange, is that she's been caught in some, let's call it what it was, some distortion, some lies. And so when there's an exchange where one person is believed and it's questionable what happened, she is not the one that's likely to be believed now, unfortunately.
I'm so apolitical. I didn't even watch last night. Oh, bless you.
Yeah, you didn't. You watched The Daily Show and watched the recap.
Yeah, I saw that.
All right,
that
so you watched
funny.
a little bit.
God
right?
bless you, Drew.
Thank you.
And by the way, this weekend, Leanne Tweeden will be on Ask Dr. Drew on Sunday.
So Sunday we'll be here doing calls. Oh, the dog's in. The dog comes in right about this time every single time. Rex got to get on camera. Yeah, Leanne Tweeden, my partner on KBC, will be here.
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Pacific time.
She's going to try to start at 3.
We'll have live call in at that point. And we really do want some suggestions on who you'd like me to interview and what kinds of people you'd like to see on that show particularly. And we're trying to work in maybe some guests, even sort of fun guests into this segment, things that are not necessarily political, or like Susan wanted to put in, what do they call themselves?
Oh.
The Sinister Chorus or something?
I can't remember their name right now, but I mean
I will look it up.
I'll tell you. Okay, so this weekend also
Deplorable Choir.
Yeah, so this weekend we're going to have a call-in show only. So it won't be live, but we're going to send out an email where everybody can call in and just ask questions, so that we aren't intermingling you with the guests and making you stay on hold for 2 hours.
Right. We feel bad about that. I want to.
So we're going to. I think we're going to start first with some questions. So if you prefer to just get the email or the text, and call in with your questions, Drew can sort of rapid fire it. I think we're going to try to get a psychiatrist with him. And if you want to skip the line and text your question to 9842 Dr. Drew, you can put your question in and it'll go right to the top of the line, and he'll be able to take it on Sunday.
Okay.
And then we'll do the Leanne show afterwards, live on Facebook and Periscope and YouTube.
Okay. Ms. Producer, we have 3 requests for guests. You ready?
All right.
They're all outstanding.
Let me get my pen. Hold on.
It's going to challenge your ability to book.
Well, just because you want to say
From Hawaii and former presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard. She'd be amazing. Did you see her interview on Rogan? It was amazing. Her last interview. Jordan Peterson, which would be a delight.
I have his phone number in my.
You have Jordan Peterson's phone number?
Don't I?
I don't think so.
No. Well,
but
who's
they've
the
got
one
it over
I have in my phone?
They've got it over at Corolla.
That I get them mixed up with.
They've got it over at Corolla.
Sure.
And somebody else. Wait, somebody asked for.
You gave me their phone number.
Oh, the host of You Are Not So Smart, a guy named David McCraney. He'd be great also. He'd be excellent. Dave McCraney would be excellent. He's been on Dr. Drew podcast a number of times. Why am I not for opiate or narcotic pain medication? So let's start with Joy's comment. Why are you not for opiate or narcotic pain medication? That is a false statement. I am neither for nor against any medication. Medications have risks and benefits, and that's that, and they have to be used appropriately. The whole premise of what you're saying is false. They want Adam to come back on, too, which would be a tough putt also. You might more likely to get Tulsi Gabbard.
So weird. I just put Jordan Peterson on my phone, and Scott Adams, Jordan Peterson, Dave McCraney, and Wes Alwyn popped up in my notes. I don't know. Right over a
Great. Wes would be good, too. He's from
Crank Anchors thing.
Yeah, Wes is from the partially
that is
examined
old.
life.
This was from 2017. Oops. Oh, shoot.
Okay, here's somebody, Courtney, saying, why do people think that asexuality is an excuse because someone doesn't pursue others?
And a photo of your son with Donald Trump and me with a big yellow python over my shoulders.
Can you
I just found that on my phone.
Now that you've said it, can you put it
I'll
up for people to look at? Okay, so my goodness, I'm on about Catherwood. That's another guest request.
Why their names are in there? It's so weird. Catherwood.
Here's Chrissy saying, how do I control being envious? All right. Envy is one of the most destructive emotions you can possibly have. It destroys you and it destroys other people. Jealousy is different. Jealousy is somebody has something I wish I had. Makes me uncomfortable, and I'm going to work hard to get what they had, but I wish them no ill. Envy is somebody has something that I don't have that I want, and I have to bring them down to my size. No effort for me to get to where they are. I have to just bring that person down. You hurt yourself, you hurt the other person, and it eats you up inside. It's so strange to me that religions for the last 1,000 years made more of envy than anything else, and we live in a day of the time of envy now. Envy is ruling the land here, and we're doing very little to curb it. It is it was always considered one of the most serious sins humans can commit because it is so destructive. It leads to harm to self and other. I think the important thing is to turn it around and try to use empathy. Build compassion, keep your boundaries firm, and ultimately you can sort of hopefully diminish the impact of empathy by learning how to be of service and give back and do all those important things that let us lead what's called a eudaimonic life, which is a life that has more meaning and purpose to it. It's hard. It's all hard. It requires work. All right. I've got to read your Baba Booey. Thank you. Let's see. I'll make sure Rex has water. Thank you for that statement.
I just gave him water.
That's a Corolla statement. It's called the female canine hydration syndrome. He thinks Lynette is overly preoccupied with his dog getting water.
Uh-huh.
Paul Gilmartin. Interesting guest. That's another good guest. I think I had him on our Dr. Drew podcast way back.
I'm trying to get this Trump picture up.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it.
Joe says you need, that's smart, Julie. Hi, Julie. I need what? I need to put Joe on too? Whatever you wrote there doesn't make sense.
Uh-oh, it's sideways. Darn it. Why?
Okay, so Aaron is saying boundaries while knowing how to give and what to give others is my hardest challenge. That is a very high order. It sounds easy. It sounds as though everyone should be able to do it. It actually is not an easy thing. It's a high order. What's the difference between BPD and PTSD? Well, I think you mean borderline personality disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder, it has a set of criteria. I mean, I could pull out the DSM-5 and read them to you. Borderline personality, and it's a syndrome essentially with the autonomic nervous system is turned on all the time. It's all those symptoms associated with that and the trouble functioning that people have. Borderline personality disorder is a much different phenomenon in that it's associated with unregulated hostility, difficulty with a sort of incomplete self-concept or a lot of irregularity or fluctuation in self-concept, self-harm, mood instability. It's a different syndrome. It's a personality disorder, so it tends to be a lifelong phenomenon, while post-traumatic stress disorder obviously is the result of some post-traumatic event. Now, the reason they kind of go together sometimes is people with childhood trauma can develop borderline personality disorder and PTSD.
So I'm going to show the picture, but it's sideways because I have to go through a lot of cropping and everything. But this was at Maria Menounos' birthday, and it's sideways. Everybody, don't laugh, okay? But here's my son Douglas with Donald Trump, and they had pythons and monkeys, and he said he wanted to put the monkey on his shoulder and take a picture with him, and that's why they're laughing. And he was very nice. He said that Drew was a very what did he say? He said, your dad is a very fine man.
Who knows if he knew that it was me.
Yes, he did. He knew
Tanya,
you. He met you before. You had dinner with him.
It's true. Tanya wants to know if she can get behind my campaign. There is no campaign. I have to say it over and over again. This is my Scott Adams moment. I did an interview for The Hill where I said clearly I have zero intention to run. I just had felt so morally mobilized, like I have to do something. When I realized I was in Schiff District, I thought maybe I had to run after him.
You didn't like Schiff.
No plan to do it.
Nobody likes Schiff.
No plan to do it. Not going to do it. And then every print outlet on earth wrote an article about how I was running for office. So that was a great example of the unprofessionalism of journalists. Why they even call themselves journalists sometimes boggled my mind. It was fake news top to bottom, other than the journalist who interviewed me for The Hill, who took miraculously took down every word I said accurately, which never happens, which is why I almost never do print interviews, because it's always distortion. I think I mentioned this the other day. There's something called Gell-Mann amnesia you should know about. There was a famous physicist named Dr. Gell-Mann who looked at the paper. Every time there was a story on physics, he would just think, oh my God, it's way off. They're not getting it at all. This is completely inaccurate. And yet when he'd read the rest of the paper, he assumed the journalists were getting those stories correct. That's called Gell-Mann amnesia. The reality is all the stories are distorted. You'll never know it more than when you get an article done about you. You'll see how far from truth they get, and no apologies either. No. Even if they retract things, they never apologize, and they never learn either. That's the other thing that's really kind of disturbing. Is 40 milligrams of citalopram too high? No, but you're afraid of getting brain zapped if you stop, which you will if you stop it abruptly, which is why when it comes time to come off the citalopram, you have to go very slowly. I'm glad you know that, but and the zaps don't kick in until you get into the very, very lower doses when you have to go much, much slower in the withdrawal. But you'll be fine. That will not, if it's done properly, it shouldn't happen. Can I talk about pathological envy and psychopathy? I'm not sure what you mean by pathological envy. In some sense, envy is all pathological because it's so destructive, and it has no renewing or productive quality to the emotion at all. It's purely about destroying other people and then eating yourself up, and then not doing what you need to do to get wherever you want that other person was that you wish you were. Could not imagine a more destructive emotion. But psychopathy is a genetic condition most people believe that you are born with, and it has very characteristic phenomenon. People debate about whether psychopathy is just a severe sociopath. I'm of the camp that believes it's a specific brain structure. This is another great guest for us, Dr. James Fallon, who was doing research on psychopathy and was doing fMRIs on them, and then saw a psychopathic pattern in his controls.
We had him on Weekly Infusion.
Yes, we did. And lo and behold, he was a psychopath, he found out. And the thing about psychopath is they have difficulty feeling emotions, understanding emotions, or perceiving emotions in other people. As a result of that, the emotions can not matter. They will sort of learn cues that tell them they learn about what emotions are and learn cues in people's faces and their body language that tells them emotion is being had by another person, but they don't really know what it feels like. They never feel emotions. And so as a result, they can be quite cruel sometimes. And psychopathy is not murderer, right? A psychopathic murderer is somebody who usually is a psychopath genetically with some severe traumas that then gets into real trouble. Okay. No, I've never helped with campaigns, interestingly. Somebody's asking me if I've been helped with other
He's
campaigns.
He's a really busy doctor.
I mean, been busy.
You've had like 5,000 shows over the years, so you're still busy too, by the way.
Aaron Hernandez. People want to talk about Aaron Hernandez. I don't know what to think about all that. I would really. That's a kind of a confusing story. It's not good. I get it, but exactly what was happening there, I'm not getting it. Some people even believe that it's chronic traumatic encephalopathy that he was suffering from. Now, for some reason, I just flew off the restream. There it is. Okay.
I know, it's so weird. It went into two parts. I don't know. Maybe when I was playing with the photos, it split off. But I have. It's weird. Yeah. I have a whole new group, but they're all coming together. They're the same questions, so it should be.
Apparently, there's a new documentary it just dropped. Thank you for telling me that about Aaron Hernandez. I will watch it. I'm not sure I'll be able to figure out what's going on with him. What can I do for histoplasmosis? Can't tolerate that.
What is that?
Histoplasmosis is a fungus, usually lung, and it's usually like from caves and things in the southeast, southwest and southeast. Where do you live, and where is the histo? It can be other places, even skin and things too, but it's very interesting. What do I think of? What is GP? GPs of GP physicians being unaware of how to tape. Oh, this thing keeps jumping off. Isn't that weird?
I have it running twice here for some reason. But
it just keeps jumping.
What's the matter?
It's my computer or something. It keeps jumping. I'm gonna close all these other things.
Are you on the right Wi-Fi?
No, I'm just gonna see if I can get this to stay better. Okay, here we go. Oklahoma. Yeah, so Oklahoma has histoplasmosis. And what part of your body is the histo? And it's usually there's various antifungal
Wait, what
medicine.
did you say it was again? It's a fungus?
It's a fungus. Valley fever in Phoenix, that's coccidiomycosis. That's different. This is histoplasmosis. So what are my thoughts on Suboxone? I am finishing a training to be able to prescribe Suboxone this week. I am not a super fan. However, the magnitude of the opioid epidemic on the streets now are people that are going to have to be on Suboxone replacement therapy, and it is a good treatment for some people. My concern is the excessive enthusiasm for Suboxone, and the training I've done, the session I did, was actually not bad. They were not overly. They included things like naltrexone and naloxone in the medication-assisted treatment, which has been always my question. Why not naltrexone? Why not? And they weren't enthusiastic about it because because they don't know how to manage drug addicts. When you put a drug addict on naltrexone, they're likely to leave treatment, and that bothered them. So they thought, oh, well, then we shouldn't be pushing naltrexone. Properly managed, naltrexone is a great treatment, even for alcoholism. Okay. Is esophageal cancer fatal? Yeah, unless it's caught very, very early. Very early. It's an extremely aggressive, awful tumor. I'm sorry about that. Lung is where Janice has the histoplasmosis. Yeah, you've got to get on the medicine. You've got to find an antiviral. There's various antifungals out there. Some even are intravenous, and you've got to be on something to cure this thing because it can be quite progressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many diseases. Crazy.
They're libraries of a lot.
Yeah.
There are giant libraries filled with all the things that can happen.
Still alive.
That's what I always say. It's a miracle we get from one day to the next without horrible things happening to us. That is the. I heard Jordan Peterson say this today, and I thought this was a really interesting point. He said, "The world is not a kind place. People are not just strictly good. It is malevolent. We've been through thousands of years of horrors." Just the medical condition, the medical pathology that we've had to put up with and been unable to treat for essentially the entirety of the human condition, except maybe since the 1960s. It's a dangerous. The nature is trying to kill you all the time, and it eventually will. That's the nature of our biological state. So it's important to remember that.
Who's the guy
and be grateful when things are good as they are now.
Who's the guy that wrote "Trust Me, I'm Lying"?
Ryan Holiday.
I always get him mixed up with Jordan Peterson.
No, well, Ryan Holiday will be great on the show too. So please get Ryan.
That's who I was trying to think of.
Okay. Working with someone tonight, can I explain the phenomenon of people with narcissistic and traumatic injuries wanting to take out and destroy others when they feel powerless? That is called narcissistic rage, and narcissistic rage is a murderous rage. It's sometimes they will take it out on themselves and commit suicide, and sometimes they will take it out on other with aggression and violence. Think about a little baby who is having a violent tantrum. That is narcissistic rage. And adults can manifest the same thing, and they are dangerous when they do. And aggression becomes, worse with trauma, for sure. Get hospitalized because I was rethinking everything in my reality. I'm not sure there's a question there. All right, here we go. What interesting nuances do I think a romantic relationship has in bringing a dysregulated person back into the intersubjective exchange in comparison to a relationship with a therapist? Okay, so the way we build our emotional machinery, our emotional regulation, is in something called intersubjective exchange. That's what Phoenix is asking about. And in order for the other person to be effective in building that regulation, they have to be totally present and totally there strictly for that other person with no other agenda in the relationship. Now, the person, because we're all people, things will be evoked in that person as you're going through something, but there's no ulterior motive other than helping the person. In a romantic relationship, there's all kinds of other motives. That you can now, what one of the research has shown is if you are in a romantic relationship with somebody who has a secure attachment, and this is attachment styles, which is a whole other conversation. There's avoidant attachment. There's there's disorganized attachment. But if you are somebody with secure attachment style, your attachment style can move more towards secure. So that's one way in which the emotional regulation can be improved. But it's not a substitute for the intersubjective exchange of a professional who's there and also trained to receive, use their body as an instrument to receive and then metabolize and give back emotions. We talked about that a lot on Sunday with the psychiatrist. She's clearly excellent at that. Do psychopaths have anosognosia? Personality disorders generally have a little bit of anosognosia. in that they don't really see, they see the problems they're having always as out in the world, not me. That's the characteristic of a personality disorder. When things are happening and it's unpleasant, it's out there. It's never something caused by me or related to me or somehow my fault, for lack of a better word. 15 days sober for Tish's husband, Chris. Congratulations. Those are rough days, those first 15 days. And Constance talking to us en français. Bonsoir. And then the Your Mom's House team is in there saying, keep it high, I'm tight. So for you guys, I will bring up the merchmethod.com/Tom Segura, where you can get the After Dark stuff, which is, of course, this one, which I'm just so proud of. And I'll bring it down fast. They are? That's crazy. I can't hear you. You're not on the microphone.
Yeah, I was sniffling. Go to merchmethod.com/Tom Segura, and you can see all the stuff that Your Mom's House has, but these are our T-shirts, and they're doing quite well. People actually like them, Drew. I know you're really embarrassed about.
I'm embarrassed by the one. It's something I said on Your Mom's House.
But it is good advice. I mean, come on. It really is good advice. I mean,
oh my gosh.
Some people need to know that.
Well, Nuke with a bunch of numbers after it. You want me for California District 28? Maybe next time around. I'm not so. Okay, this is an interesting point that Erika.
We need female T-shirts.
I think she's absolutely correct.
What would you want? Maybe a hat, or I don't know.
No, more T-shirts that are fitted properly, or
I know. They're just. It's dude world over there.
Can you go? This is Tara Camerata. Can you go through withdrawal when you stop THC use? Absolutely. The withdrawal can be, for some people, can be very intense, and the sleep disturbance goes for several months. That's what people find the most unpleasant part. Good idea. Somebody wants Michelle Ward on, who's a psychopath expert. I'm going to send you her contact information.
So we're going to talk about psychopaths again?
People like talking about this stuff, and she's very interesting and would talk about it.
What's her name?
Michelle Ward. Nikki wants a shirt. Yes, fitted. I quit nicotine very easily in September after 2 years of use, but now I've experienced alcohol blackouts for the first time. Isn't that interesting? Well, alcohol blackouts is indicative of you not having a normal relationship with alcohol, right?
What I want to know is who would be a good guest to call in this weekend with Leanne Tweeden, because we don't really have a topic yet. We're kind of bouncing ideas around. Drew really wanted Leanne to come in because he misses her, and she's, she was the most recent co-host on KBC. But I don't know, trying to come up with some good ideas of topics, and I mean, we can talk about homeless until we're blue in the face, but I just think we can. I mean, that'll get talked about no matter what.
Yeah, it seems to come up no matter what here. I'm going to send you.
What about, do you think Ryan Holiday would be a good person?
Oh, he'd be great. We'll do a little stoicism, right?
All right.
I think that'd be great. He can Zoom in or Skype in or something. I just sent you Michelle Ward's contact information so we can get her.
You have it?
Yeah, so we can get her.
And Michelle has Dr. Fallon, but that's a show on itself.
Andrew Yang would be great. Yes,
well,
I agree with that.
We're already reaching out to him right now. So, but I don't think I was going to try to get him for Sunday, but that's one of those things where you have to work around their schedule.
Okay.
He's probably really busy.
Ooh, Adam's parents. That's also a really interesting idea. That is a really, but based on the way, I've known them over the years a little bit, and the way he has sort of always described them, I'm not expecting to get much out of it.
How about Adam?
Yeah, but he won't. I said you're more likely to get Andrew Yang.
Well, we could get him to call in. Adam will call in.
All right.
Well, I know I can get Adam. I'm not. That's a show in itself too. We can't.
He won't stay the whole time. You have to get him just for a few minutes. So.
He was on This Life.
Yeah. All right. Have I seen the Joker film? If so, I wonder what your thoughts are on it.
We did.
Yeah, we did. I mean, it's a show about a horrible, horrible person who, was brought into this world by horrible, horrible experiences, which is what happens. Except it's probably the case that, and the way they portrayed him, which I think is accurate, that he was also a psychopath. And so you take a psychopath and you traumatize them, but you end up with really horrible behavior.
We saw it the night after we saw Uncut Gems.
Valerie wants to know, do you ever thought about doing a non-celebrity rehab with everyday people? We did it.
We did.
We did it. Nobody watched, so they wouldn't do it again. It was a very challenging group, that was some of whom we know to this day. Eric, I hope you're listening out there. Eric Adams.
Who was on my podcast the other day.
Who's
called
amazing.
in and we gave him a psychic reading.
So look that up on vh1.com. And you can see a really interesting, challenging group that many of whom are doing extraordinarily well now. Okay, Mindhunter author John Douglas, profiler. That could be interesting too. I like that.
You know, I'm finding movies to be very, very much full of pathology and problems, and I'm wondering why people are so entertained by that.
Or what do you guys think about it? We've been sort of musing about this. We've
I'm
noticed
just
that
such a pussy.
Well, we've noticed.
Seriously,
we've noticed lately the films are so violent and so disturbing. Like we watched Parasite the other night, and we found that. Tan Mom, Susan. People want Tan Mom. That would be good too.
She's easy.
Patricia would be good. But
I already had her on my show.
We found Parasite so disturbing that we were trying to understand why people like these things or want to watch these things now. There seems to be just an absolute preoccupation with it.
I know, but like even all the trailers at the movie theaters, because I very seldom go. I only see movies on planes because I go back and forth to New York a lot, and the trailers were just terrifying. I was like, wow.
And Grant says it reflects our time. Yeah, we get that, but why? What is it about our time?
I'm very sheltered. It doesn't reflect my time. Okay, it's scary. I mean, I guess it is.
Emily Morris.
Out there.
Emily's been. We were talking to her.
Yeah, we're working with Emily.
So that's going to happen. What are my thoughts on marital rape? I think it's horrible. I don't know quite. You better ask me a little bit more. Do I think people in open marriages can have healthy relationships? Well, the data are 90% fail. So look at the data. It may take a while, but 90% apparently fail. I saw that data published the other day, and I was like, yep, there it is. It's gore and malevolence over building tension and terror now. So you say that it used to be the horror films rather than...
Yeah. I mean, that's what it reminds me of. It's just, but every movie. I mean, Uncut Gems was like the same thing. You were just on the edge of your seat the whole time.
So he says, somebody said here, it's reflecting what's happening in the world, but it's specifically not. It's specifically not.
I hope it's not giving people ideas.
Oh, Indra Viscontis. She's been on the Dr. Drew podcast a couple of times. I really bug her there. So look for her on the Dr. Drew podcast. Indra and Sean Carroll and guys like that. That's more the Dr. Drew podcast, as much as I would love them here.
Yeah, but it's all behind the paywall. You have to pay $7.99 a month to hear it. So if you wanted, if you're already listening to the Corolla show and listening to the archives behind the paywall, then you can get it. But we don't make any money with that. They just take all our content and put it there, so we can't give you any good advice. I mean, maybe if you go to drdrew.com, you'll be able to pull it up and play it.
And Rick, where was your stem cell therapy? What part of your body? It'd be interesting to hear about that. I would love to know more people's thoughts more on these movies, because that's one of the things I found so distracting. Like, for instance, the Joker, a lot of the behaviors of the Gotham City people, it's all sort of meant to elicit feelings about New York City, which is the most progressive city on earth. People don't behave like that in New York City.
Well, you're saying like how many white guys on a train kicked the shit out of a clown? Like,
we're not talking about what happened.
They were
like a long time ago.
They're trying to
We're talking about what's going on now. Why are we taking things that aren't happening now and now bringing them up as though they are happening all the time?
Well, it's a fantasy
Sue Johnson,
movie.
EFT. I'm trying to get her for Dr. Drew podcast too. Good, also another good guest. But go ahead, Susan. What is it?
You're taking my good guest.
They're long form interviews. I'm not sure they're right for these interactive shows.
Yeah, I know. But we can do an hour interview with anybody.
Huh. So here's somebody. Grandy says Trump's presidency and the Joker reflect the same anger at the system. That's
Maybe.
Interesting. Our filmmakers.
Well, it's just retribution from people who, feel like.
So it's envy.
They
right,
have
that's
mental illness. I mean, mental.
Well, no. So retribution. I think you're right. I think acting out envy is a lot of what some of this is. it's I wish it were something. I wish it had a real, like a message that was productive or meaningful. I mean, like look at Parasite. What did we learn from Parasite?
That was just ridiculous.
Well, the people liked it.
I
Your
don't
son
know
said
why.
it was his favorite film. We got to interview him and find out why.
That's so weird. It's like, I mean, it was just you felt this anxiety through the whole show. Like that's part of the way that movies are done now, so that it's eliciting this feeling. And all I was thinking to myself is, what happened to the happy, funny comedies and everything like that? Like it was really fun to see. I liked Uncut Gems.
Yeah,
though,
but
I gotta say.
oh no, saying Parasite was about class. Yes, Parasite was about class, but the behavior, the murder was the behavior that was being sort of glorified in an interesting way, and the the sociopathic manipulation of people who, yes, not great people, but does that justify murder? This is what's disturbing. Japanese films have been gross for a long time. Perhaps it's that.
Yeah.
The film is reflective of the mentality of a school shooter. Yes, it's in a way that's true. That's really true. That's Phoenix. That's very interesting. I not thought about that.
Which one?
The Joker.
Oh, okay.
That's sort of the mentality of a
Back
school
to Joker.
shooter. That's kind of some of them. Some of them. That's actually true. Certainly, that guy in Florida. That was sort of his thing. And remember that with that case, he was doing well when he was in treatment, but when his mother died, they couldn't keep him in treatment because we have no authority to do that in this country.
I guess that does mirror American mental illness.
Yeah, but why then the negativity about mental illness? You really want that people thinking that about mental illness, that's the way people with mental illness typically behave? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And that Joker holds up a mirror to each viewer and explores our place in society and how we ignore the disenfranchised. Yeah, I'll get you that. But did it have to be so violent to give that message? All right.
Why did his buddy give him a gun? He couldn't figure out that he had a problem. Here, protect yourself. I mean, I knew he was going to go shoot somebody. You knew it immediately.
Yep.
Oh well, but it was a fine portrayal of mental illness.
Okay, Valerie, your husband is 3 days into an opiate withdrawal. It only takes about 5 days, as long as it wasn't methadone that he was on. There are tons of ways to treat that. He should be seeing a doctor that knows something about that. People don't typically make it outside of a structured environment, so I don't know if he's trying to do this at home or not, but do consult with somebody who knows how to treat this. It's quite treatable. We gravitate towards taboo. We just admit it more openly now. Do people embrace our... More people are embracing it now. I think that's what he's saying. Taboo, murder. That's what we're embracing. Murder. That's the part that it's. If these things didn't go all the way to murder, then it would, or made it somehow a little more nuanced, it would make more sense to me. But you're following killers. Come on now.
Yeah, it's just a movie.
I'm trying to read a long question here.
You have to read it.
Yeah.
So we know what
Okay.
you're
You
reading.
want me to read it? It'll take a minute.
Okay.
Thoughts on Federalist approach to our political divisions? Years ago, it was okay that Vermont was a little crunchy and California was where you'd find the hippies, and New Orleans had a unique culture. Why can't political discourse embrace and celebrate and live in a state or a town that celebrates your values? That way we can all live together. Because we have lost the common value of the system in which we live. We are not educating people about the brilliance of our founding fathers and what all their shortcomings notwithstanding, the system they created was a brilliant system of government, and we are not educating people on it. Let me give you case one. There is a popular vote, and there is the college, the electoral college, right? People are astonished that the popular vote doesn't win the presidential campaign. That was something deeply thought about by our founding fathers. This system is not about a collective of America. We are not a collective, one giant continent of North America. We are a union of states. We were the opening preamble of the Constitution. In order to we the people, in order to form a more perfect union amongst the states, and in order for each state to be represented reasonably, the Electoral College is how you do that. Even though they may have less citizens, they still need representation for the union of the states to function. Many ideas like that are not being taught. People don't understand federalism. They don't understand the basic bicameral nature of our Congress. They don't understand how legislation is made. They don't understand really, what our government is, what the values were upon which it was formed. And if we don't all have those, that it was formed on an idea. We're the only country formed on an idea, at least as far as I know. And that idea is what we all buy into when we become citizens. Well, we're not teaching people what that idea is. And so it's easy for us to really splinter. Right, Susan?
Right.
You're not talking that much today. I need your help.
I'm texting Ryan Holiday.
You're booking him? Here is psilocybin for stage 4 cancer patients at Johns Hopkins and NYU. Yes, it's an excellent candidate for end-of-life anxiety and dread. And again, we did a 2-hour special on this last weekend. It is up now, Susan?
Yes.
Where would they find it?
On drdrew.com.
Okay. And also the podcast of that 2 hours will be up soon. Yes, I'm sure I'm not running, Janice. I'm 100% sure. I've made that very clear. Vince Wren, I wonder who that is. Social media keeps us in each other's faces. That's true too, and just amplifies our differences, and keeps us focused on feelings rather than ideas and solutions and common ground. What's
Somebody wants a daily dose mug.
Ooh, I like that.
That's a cute idea.
Great
we
idea.
need a better logo, though, don't you think?
Yes.
We threw this together in like 3 seconds. Poor Caleb, I was like, I need a logo, and he just boop, boop, boop.
All right,
Although it's not that bad.
Wait, this is an interesting statement here, Panty. Today's generation is engaged in projective identification, which is true. But it's projection and projective identification both. So they call everyone else hateful and angry when they themselves are the one feeling hateful and angry, or they see their feelings out in the other people or project them out on those other people. That's projective identification, caused by early anosognosia from traumatic reenactment of repressed childhood experiences, and now worship extensional solipsism. No, it is trauma. You're right, and that's where those sorts of projections come from.
Thanks everyone for your hearts on Periscope and your likes on Facebook and your thumbs ups on YouTube and wherever you are. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Why do you think that people believe their current values can apply to 1776 and beyond? Because the people in 1776 that created the government, that created based on study of thousands of years of government. They looked at all the governments that humans had been engaged in, and they put together a system that they felt took into account the flaws of the other attempts. And one of the things that has been found wherever it occurs is that direct democracy fails. That's it. For some reason, that's the evidence. And they were social scientists. They were looking at the evidence and then tried to create a system that took all that into account. All right.
So political today. I kind of like it.
All right. People think federalism, the Electoral College, is antiquated. Well, which? Federalism or the Electoral College versus modern technology? It's not it's a union of states. Of course, we could get a more technologically accurate read of a large number of people. That doesn't create the balance amongst the states. That's not what this government is. We are not one federal government. We are a union of states. My goodness.
My goodness,
yes. All right, so I think that about does it. Shall we?
Okay, so don't forget this weekend, Sunday, 3 p.m., Drew and Leanne Tweeden will be back together again, and we're going to have a topic. We're going to have some guests, I think, and we'll
be in here tomorrow,
too. Be taking your calls
right
on the phone. Also, you can text 9842 Dr. Drew your question. Just text that number, and you'll get to the top of the list of callers. And then also go to drdrew.tv, sign up, and you'll get notified as soon as we go live.
All right. And we'll be in here tomorrow around this time.
And then Drew's going to
actually earlier tomorrow, because I've got to do a bunch of podcasts for Adam Carolla tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, and then on Monday and Tuesday, Drew's going to Sacramento to be the keynote speaker for the 2020 State of Downtown in Sacramento. And so we won't be doing any live shows that day. So.
Unless you want to try to...
No.
Okay. Okay.
You guys can catch up on the old ones, and then also they get a little tired after spending a whole afternoon with us on Sunday anyway.
Okay.
So
that's true.
So we'll, he has to go do some other stuff this week. So, but we will be setting it up on his laptop for when we go to New York, or if we take a couple days off. So we haven't figured that out yet. I just like the way you look in this.
Oh.
And we have to work out the details.
Okay. All right, good. Well, you guys are great. Thank you for all the questions and for the dialogue. And again, you worry about Jeremy says we might as well abolish all the states. Well, if we want to do that, then we could have one big soup here called America. That would be a wholly federal system, and it'd be completely different than what we have. But that wasn't what we set out to do here in this country. So it seems like that would be an awful big change, and it's worked pretty well so far. Thank you guys. Great questions, great participation, and I hope that if anything, this kind of dialogue might help us. As we have this technology, we're all in our face with social media, to use your words, and maybe things like this can bring us a little more together. All right, guys. I'll see you next time.